Hi there. This is Dead Ringo talking to you from station XEA in Sonata, Baja, California. That's a different program, folks. Today I'm going to be talking about birth control, the greatest disaster that can befall mankind, pregnancy. On a kind of a light note, but what's happened here all of a sudden, folks, is that the Republican Party is finally going to pay up a price, a terrible price. They'd ought to easily be able to install a president of the United States and get Obama out there very easily, except for one thing. They've got the church. It's an albatross around their neck. And none so incredible as this one. Rick Santorum. The Catholic's Catholic. A man with 7 children. He goes about... He finds that Kennedy is an apostate. He doesn't believe in birth control, and if this guy ever got into office, folks, you'd better not believe in it either, because he'd stop it. The man is an utter fanatic. And you say to yourself, how could this happen? Well, it goes all the way back to 1980 when the religious conservatives made a bargain with the Republican Party. And the consequence was Reagan. Reagan didn't do much for these folks, actually. I think the guy probably laughed his way through 8 years of the presidency, but the point was they didn't get much, but boy, they're really out for it now. And so what I'd like to talk to you about today is simply this, about the move in the United States to go all the way back and take away the birth control pill. That's what we're talking about here, actually. That's what they're after. The bishops are putting it on the basis, why, it's a matter of religious freedom. Oh, no, it has nothing to do with that. It's to stop birth control. They can't convince their own congregation, of course. 90% of Catholic women practice birth control. Very sensible. I mean, it's a good thing to do. The bishops have no control of that. So what they would like to do instead is to work around it any way they can to make it more and more difficult to get birth control products. They do a good job in Central America and South America. It's practically impossible to get them down there. That's the work of the church. These ridiculous men. They can't even control the sexual conduct of their own priests, who are after boys, mind you. But they can inflict this on womankind. How did it happen? Now, a brief history, I think, is good to show you how the church found itself in this position. And sometimes history is important. It really is, folks. Let me start by saying in the earliest times of Christianity, it took a very dark, pessimistic view on sex and procreation. St. Augustine, for example, said that sexual conduct was for one purpose and one purpose only, and it was procreation between a man and a woman. And that was all it could be. And this is something the church no longer wants you to know. Augustine went further than that. He says, listen, if his husband had a little problem, you don't want to get your wife pregnant, I tell you what, have sex with a prostitute. They're open to procreation. Problem solved. Don't you see that? These are the beautiful things. And Thomas Aquinas, a saint of I think the 12th century, he put a new spin on the whole idea of not only sex, but the idea of the embryo. He said that a male embryo wasn't formed until 1 month after the procreation. It required 2 months for a female. Now, where the hell he got this stuff? I think he got it from Aristotle, an ancient Greek. But in any case, here we have the case. 1 month for a male and 2, and what was the difference? Well, you see, females are inferior, and there was an evil wind that comes over the fetus just before that 1 month, and that's what turns them into females. That was Catholic teaching for a good number of years. The popes took on an attitude of infallibility. It occurred in 1870. A Pope Pius IX in effect declared himself infallible in matters of morals and faith. He said, well, it was a bishop's conference. They were all gathered in Rome, and he convinced them that he should be declared infallible. And it's a great danger in infallibility, because if if you do something that's cockeyed, everybody that comes after you is stuck with it. Well, that's exactly what did happen. Let's move forward. It was 1870 he declared himself infallible in matters of, as I say, morals and faith. In the 1930s, Pope Pius XI, this is right after the First World War, the damage and destruction was beyond anything. Crowned heads had rolled, revolutions every place, the rise of fascism, the rise of communism, the birth rate just began to collapse, and particularly in Catholic countries like France and in large parts of Germany. I think he figured something had to be done. So he issued an encyclical, which in effect said that there was to be no other purpose of sex except procreation. He had gone right back to Augustine. 2,000 years before he's going back to. The church had never changed, basically, but here he's punching it in. He's signing on to it. Well, it was a little bit of, I don't know, you might say, cynicism in it all. After all, the Vatican owned a company. It was called Istituto Farmacologia Serno di Roma, the largest manufacturer of birth control products in all of Italy. Very strange conduct. This was very tough on Catholic families. I can tell you that. When I was a boy, I was raised a Catholic, and of course, many of the families were having an awful problem with this pronouncement. And an effort was made by Pope Pius XII. This was the Pope whom was now being called by many people Hitler's Pope. But he had, at least in this sense, a little bit of kindness about him, and he realized that people were suffering because of this absolutely incredible thing, which was that you just couldn't have sex unless it was open constantly to procreation. And so he came up with a kind of a weird scheme. He says, wait a minute here. Well, it's kind of a word-mongering thing, but it goes like this. He says, well, abstinence is a virtue. Let's put that up here. That's good, Dad. And love between a man and his wife is a wonderful thing. So put those together as follows. We'll say that abstinence during the time when the wife is least likely to conceive, we'll practice abstinence. We'll practice that. Then you see when the time comes and she's had less chance of being impregnated, then you can have the love. It came to be known as papal roulette. It was a step beyond the absolute prohibition, but not much of one. And so there it stood until after the Second World War. The same conditions are applying. Europe was an absolute total wreck. There was even starvation on a grand scale. And once again, the Vatican takes a look at this thing, and it was Pope John Paul XXIII who called all the bishops to Rome. He says, we're going to have to look at the church. It's simply not a creature of the 20th century. We're going to have to do something about it, bring it forward. And he appointed all kinds of commissions, and one of the commissions he appointed was to look into the matter of birth control. And it began its work, but before it could be finished, he died, I think in 1963, I believe it was. And a new pope comes along, Paul VI. Now the commission goes forward with its work, and it comes with a recommendation. The recommendation is that the church must absolutely change its position on birth control, that it's euchred itself into a position that's just morally unjustified. Well, Paul, under the influence of one of his cardinals, Cardinal Ottaviani, decided, well, no. This would be a violation of the principle of infallibility. If I change it, I mean, I'll be saying that previous popes were wrong. I can't be in that position. So therefore, I've got to stop it. He and Ottaviani took a minority report from the commission, 6 members, who said, change nothing, everything is hunky-dory. And with that, John Paul issued a encyclical which has come to be known as Humanae Vitae, and I think just the title of it alone will show you exactly what strange creatures they are. The thinking is just simply insane. you'll get the point. I'll try to use the voice to underline what I'm talking about. Encyclical Letter Humanae Vitae of the Supreme Pontiff Paul VI to his venerable brothers, the patriarchs, archbishops, bishops, in peace and communication with the Holy See, to the clergy and the faithful of the whole Catholic world, and to all men of goodwill, and so forth, honored brothers and dear sons. You ever get the feeling that maybe kind of anti-feminist spirit in some of this stuff? Yeah, you might very well. At any rate, no sooner had he issued this thing that he realized that I think he knew he'd made a blunder. I'm sure of it. The remainder of his papacy, he was a very, very unhappy man. He looked just awful. He really did. He just looked like a ghost. He even had strange notions that Satan had come right up through the floor of St. Peter's. I mean, it's almost as if he was smelling sulfur or something like that. The bishops, the clergy, they were against it. They hadn't even been consulted, essentially, in any way. As I say, this small commission. The Catholics, many just left in droves. It was an utter disaster. Now, after all this time, you would assume that maybe they would try to amend this situation, try to do something about it, and the answer is no, they don't. They're right back where they started from. And I'd like to just show you, if I may, some of the folks who decide these matters. Take a look over here. You talk about Halloween. Right here's a fellow. That's Cardinal Maloney. He's from Southern California. He's the bishop down in Los Angeles, Cardinal Maloney. He sheltered hundreds of priests who violated kids. Sheltered them, shuffled them all around. But the church can, after all, forgive that. He built a cathedral. That's very important. Now, sometimes you get people who are very profound. Here's this one. Look at this guy right here. Isn't he interesting? Pale moon shining on the church below. Cardinal's humming so soft and low. How he longs to be in Poppy's arms when it's sleepy time down south. Now, this chap is being elevated, I think, to be an archbishop. I really don't know, but I call your attention to I'm reminded of the days of Gypsy Rose Lee, which was don't expose too much too soon. Look at the way how he, see the T's there? Look at the arm here, you see? Look at the T's. Look at that lace work. I don't know whether, do you think the guy might be wearing lace panties? We'll never know. But lording it all over the place is this chappie. Now, just look at that. I mean, it seems to me that this guy, in a strong breeze, he's going to take off. He's going to be airborne. That's just damn sure. So, come fly with me. Let's fly away. If you can use some exotic booze, there's a bar in far Bombay. Come fly with me, come fly. Wait a minute, I thought of something even better. Look down here at the bottom of the picture. See that? Those are the ruby slippers. Those are the ruby slippers. So we have it that if happy little birds fly beyond the rainbow, why, oh, why can't I? I got to go back and show business. That's all there is to it. But I want to wrap this up on a very serious note. On February the 9th, the New York Times, on page A10, in the news section, appeared this advertisement. It's from the Freedom from Religion Foundation, and it says, it's time to consider quitting the Catholic Church. And if you can pull in, you can see here's an outraged bishop. He's saying, he's all screaming and yelling, and they're all screaming about this little pill. And she's saying, it's a bit hard to swallow. It's a kind of play on words. And at the bottom, it suggests that you join the Freedom from Religion organization. And I should like to recommend that you do just exactly that. And for that purpose, I put up above this thing. That's all you need to do is FFRF right here. Punch that into Google. It'll bring up the foundation. And I believe that you can get a couple of free newsletters from them. And the newsletter it's actually a newspaper. And it tells all about some of the shenanigans of the Catholic Church and other churches and so forth, trying to euchre public opinion with all sorts of fantasies and so forth, try to take advantage of them tax-wise and so many other things. I think you should look into it. Please do, and please come back some time. I wasn't in very good voice today, but I'll be back. Program of 90 minutes of singing solo, not even with accompaniment. I don't need that. And so I'll see you soon and come back.